Hello everyone, my name is Alana. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. Up. One of the most hilarious characters on Young Sheldon is Georgie, also known as George Jr. Fans of The Big Bang Theory are aware that Georgie not only survives his current situation, but also achieves great success. He is said to become a parent at the age of 17. But as a teenager, he was frequently overshadowed by his bright younger brother. Georgie is confident and has a great sense of humor, which was evident in his talks with his family, despite the fact that he isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Georgie made this statement as he saw his mother Mary make a valiant effort to bring Sheldon out of his bedroom, where he was hiding because he was feeling sick and had a phobia of germs. Georgie was simply moving around and attending to his business while all of this drama was taking place in the house. The top 10 comedy series from a child's point of view. He said this, which was a funny yet wise statement, as he was walking by and saw the foolishness that was occurring. This is exactly the kind of remark Georgie frequently makes. Georgie confesses to his father, George Sr., that he has driven Mima's car several times and is already a licensed driver. Additionally, he acknowledges that he once stole his father's truck while he was asleep and parked it somewhere. Let me get this straight. By admitting that you stole my truck, you're trying to show me that you're a responsible person, says George Sr. Georgie responds with this witty comment that enrages his dad. Although it was a bold statement, it perfectly captures his personality as a self-assured young guy who thought he could get away with anything. They make people happy and they see the rodeo for free, the quotation goes on to say. Though he lacks academic intelligence, Sheldon's older brother isn't as stupid as others believe. And occasionally, this manifests itself in the form of absurd remarks like this one. The job of a rodeo clown can be risky. And they don't merely see the rodeo, they take part in it. It's a job. Georgie's remark was therefore both ignorant and untrue, but it was also incredibly charming and funny. This is yet another instance of Georgie's low IQ and her inability to define certain terms or expressions. When his father orders him to cross the street and apologize to Mima, he says this. George claims that failing to do so would set a bad precedent. But Georgie doesn't know what precedent means, so he believes his father used the word president. In response, he makes this claim. Georgie doubles down and explains, "You said bad president," like Nixon, when George becomes visibly perplexed. As previously stated, Georgie may have been intelligent enough to understand how to generate money, as viewers discovered when they met the adult Georgie on The Big Bang Theory, who went on to become the owner of a tire empire and earn millions of dollars. But he wasn't very good at schoolwork. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that Georgie chose to leave high school early in order with this statement when Missy approached him for help with her homework, despite the fact that he was several classes above her. Georgie had probably only about passed her grade when he was in it. So it was true that he was probably not the best person for Missy to ask for help. However, the two, who have one of the greatest friendships on Young Sheldon, had a sweet moment together. Georgie tells his mother Mary this when she says she doesn't agree with his plan to leave school to work. Georgie says this, but she informs him that his education should come first. He supports both his and her points in a single sentence. Georgie has a lot more to learn, as seen by the fact that he is unaware of the term valedictorian, and that it differs greatly from the word dictator. However, given his age, the fact that he is so far behind also implies that, as he maintains, he isn't suited for academic study and is instead meant for something else. Georgie compares what he believes a single life might entail with this sentence. According to him, he envisions his romantic life as the buffet at Golden Corral, where there are all kinds of choices and you can have as much as you want when he gets older. Related, the top 15 Big Bang Theory-like shows. Georgie eventually gets married several times, as viewers of The Big Bang Theory are aware, although he generally fulfilled his wish to be a single man as much as possible. After meeting Veronica, Georgie was infatuated with her beauty. This was his agitated reaction when she told him she liked his hair. Georgie was so shocked by Veronica that he stumbled and didn't realize what he was saying, even though he most likely intended to say that he also loves her hair. The line is humorous, though, because it's likely something Georgie would say on purpose to someone he wasn't attempting to impress. Thanks in part to his well-groomed head of hair, Georgie exudes confidence and thinks he's a real physical attraction. Without further explanation, it sounds like Georgie was praising someone for pointing out an offensive comment. In reality, though, he was being astute and not pointing out prejudice at all. He asked his father George what he was doing when he saw him doing laundry while Mary was away. Georgie responded with this after George said he was separating the whites from the colors. Although there are some depressing aspects of George on young Sheldon, he is competent at doing the laundry and exhibits a level of concern here that isn't often there in the rest of the series. However, Georgie had the ideal opportunity to be shrewd because of the manner he described what he was doing. It's no secret that Mary lavished Sheldon with love and care when he was a child. It's also no secret that Missy and Georgie, his siblings, took note. Georgie pauses one day while watching Mary do just that and asks her why she rushes to Sheldon's side the moment he gets a cold, but she tells him it's not a big issue when Georgie is ill. Sheldon is a fragile little boy, according to Mary, whereas Georgie is getting to be a big, strong man. Georgie immediately accepts this remark, adding this sentence and concurring with his mother's opinion. It demonstrates Georgie's exaggerated self-confidence, particularly with regard to his physical attributes. Georgie was frequently spotted praying during a plot point where he was doing his best to appear to be deeply devout in order to win over a female. However, he would offer up the most ridiculous and occasionally incorrect prayers. Georgie said, "My life is hard enough," after expressing his annoyance with Sheldon in order to prevent being cruel or impolite to him in front of Veronica. "Keep him from becoming president. And assist me, Veronica, while we're conversing. Urge her to do something she won't regret with me. Amen." When Georgie wasn't irritated with Sheldon, he frequently had a single-minded focus that centered entirely on dating and courting women. If you've been keeping up with young Sheldon, you know that Sheldon Cooper's older brother Georgie is not just the typical cool, rebellious sibling you'd expect in a sitcom. While he's a bit rough around the edges, Georgie often delivers some of the funniest, most relatable, and surprisingly insightful lines on the show. Over the course of the series, this character has evolved from a stereotypical teenager to a key figure who brings both humor and heart to the story. Let's take a look at the 11 best quotes from Georgie Cooper that prove he's more than just a good-for-a-laugh character. He's got some surprisingly wise and hilarious moments up his sleeve. Georgie's first major standout moment comes early on, in the episode where he sarcastically responds to the many wise things people tell him. With a typical teenage sigh and a roll of his eyes, Georgie delivers this gem, perfectly embodying the weary, slightly jaded teenager who feels like he's been given the same advice 100 times. It's a line that speaks to anyone who's ever been the recipient of unsolicited advice, and it's delivered with Georgie's signature mix of humor and frustration. As Sheldon embarks on his usual quest for knowledge, Georgie hits him with a dose of reality. In a world where Sheldon tries to solve every problem with his encyclopedic knowledge and obsessive Googling, Georgie's blunt observation cuts through Sheldon's idealism. This is a perfect example of how Georgie often has the unvarnished truth that others might not want to hear. This one is a classic Georgie moment where he completely misses the awe and wonder of space exploration. While Sheldon might dream of distant galaxies, Georgie's down-to-earth, no-nonsense perspective brings a healthy dose of realism to the conversation. It's a hilarious reminder of how different the two brothers are. but it's also a line that anyone who's not into the idea of space travel can appreciate. While Georgie isn't exactly known for his philosophical musings, this line shows he's got a knack for metaphor. Borrowing from the famous Forrest Gump quote, Georgie flips it to fit his own style of humor. His take on life's unpredictability, highlighting the coconut-filled chocolates, is as funny as it is relatable. After all, who hasn't felt the frustration of picking a chocolate and getting something unexpected? Georgie's practical mindset often leads him to have advice that sounds both profound and hilarious at the same time. In this line, he's giving a surprisingly philosophical take on immortality, something most people wouldn't expect from him. Georgie's wisdom might be a little unconventional, but this quote proves that sometimes thinking ahead is the key to surviving life's curveballs. Georgie isn't known for being the brightest in the family, but he sure knows how to spot a bad decision when it presents itself. This quote is a classic Georgie self-awareness moment, where he embraces his own limitations, but still manages to make a point that's spot on. It's a reminder that intelligence comes in many forms, and Georgie's brand of street smarts is just as valuable as book smarts. Georgie has an uncanny ability to mix humor with a kind of warped wisdom. This line encapsulates his take on life's inevitable screw-ups. He isn't one to shy away from making mistakes, but he makes a good point. If you're going to mess up, you might as well do it in a memorable way. His carefree attitude is both funny and oddly inspiring. Georgie's dreams of wealth and success are classic big ideas from a character who has no shortage of ambition, even if his path to success is a little questionable. This quote is hilarious because Georgie genuinely believes that being a millionaire is just in his future, and he doesn't quite care how it happens. His childlike optimism mixed with his more colorful ideas about business is what makes him such a fun character to watch. This line is so relatable that it'll have you nodding in agreement. Georgie often finds himself at odds with his family, who tend to judge him for his more carefree, impulsive lifestyle. But in this moment, he throws his hands up in frustration, pointing out how his intentions aren't always as bad as they seem. It's a perfect line for anyone who's ever felt like they're being unfairly labeled. Georgie's frustration with his family, especially Sheldon, is a constant theme throughout the show. This quote perfectly captures his exasperation at not being seen for who he truly is. While Sheldon often gets all the attention for his genius, Georgie's struggles are just as real, even if they're less academic. This line is hilarious and heartbreaking at the same time, showcasing Georgie's complex relationship with his family. Finally, this quote speaks to the existential dread of adulthood. Georgie, like so many of us, reflects on the simpler days of high school, where life wasn't as complicated as it seems in the grown-up world. His delivery makes it funny, but there's a bittersweet truth to this line that many viewers can relate to. Sometimes, adulthood really does feel like one big challenge after another, and Georgie perfectly captures that feeling with humor and authenticity. Georgie Cooper may not be the first character you think of when it comes to quotable moments from young Sheldon, but as we've seen, he's got plenty of lines that will have you laughing, thinking, and even feeling a little nostalgic. Whether he's giving advice to Sheldon, lamenting the complexity of life, or just being his charming, impulsive self, Georgie's quotes never fail to entertain. His sharp wit, down-to-earth philosophy, and occasional bursts of wisdom make him one of the most lovable and relatable characters on the show. So next time you're watching young Sheldon, keep an ear out for Georgie's one-liners, because when he speaks, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.